South Asians, encompassing people from countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan, have a distinct genetic makeup that influences their response to exercise, muscle development, and bodybuilding. Understanding the South Asian genotype in relation to bodybuilding involves looking at various aspects of genetics, muscle fiber types, metabolism, and hormonal responses, amongst other factors. My name is Abbas Rizvi. I'm a board certified family physician. I'm an aspiring natural bodybuilder, and I'm very interested in the genetic makeup of South Asians, as I see a lot of my patients that may not have the most elevated body fat percentage or BMI, yet we suffer from metabolic disorders such as diabetes, high cholesterol levels, early risk of cardiovascular disease. And I just wanted to dive in a little deeper so we can help our people achieve better outcomes by choosing healthier lifestyle options and preventing disease in the future. Let's look at the South Asian genetic predisposition for muscle fibers. First of all, there's two types of muscle fibers. One is to help with explosiveness, and that is consistent of more fast twitch fibers. So think of your track athletes. Another is slow twitch fibers, and this is more of an endurance or a strength training muscle fiber, and this is where South Asians are more predominant. So how does a bodybuilder improve their physique when their muscle fibers are leaning more towards aerobic exercise or long distance activities? We have to look at which type of exercises will benefit this population, and that includes more of compound bodybuilding opposed to high intensity interval training. We need to focus on compounded lifts where we generate excess strength. It is important to know that combination of different activities will actually help in muscle mass growth in this population. The second thing to focus on in South Asian genotypes is body composition and fat storage. There's two different types of areas where our fat is actually stored. One is the visceral region and other is the subcutaneous region. And the difference between the two is the visceral fat is actually considered to be more metabolically active. It is found surrounding our organs. This is actually more detrimental to our health, opposed to subcutaneous fat, which can be found underneath our skin. This is where the physique is actually shown to look more aesthetic when you have lower subcutaneous fat. However, there has not been a link to subcutaneous fat and increasing in metabolic activity. So for South Asians, it's very important to maintain a low body mass index, low body fat percentage, as we tend to store more visceral fat, which is more detrimental to our health. Now, how does hormones play a role in the South Asian phenotype? We find that South Asians have more insulin sensitivity, predisposing them to more conditions such as diabetes. This actually is one of the reasons why when we have a body mass index that's more of the general population, roughly around 25, we may see signs of insulin resistance and prediabetes opposed to the counterparts. A good rule of thumb is for a South Asian, having a body mass index roughly around 22 would be better for their long-term health. Another quite interesting hormonal difference between South Asians and their counterparts is that we actually have less testosterone when we're compared to others. I actually find this quite interesting because there was a lot of research done on South Asians showing that we have a lot of higher levels of testosterone, but upon my review and a little more deeper dive, we may not have the higher testosterone levels equating to better healthcare outcomes. This, however, can be improved naturally by a good bodybuilding program, adequate sleep, and eating foods that are less processed. Keeping our stress levels under control also will help keep our testosterone levels higher. And this is something I would recommend all South Asians to focus on when trying to achieve the best possible health naturally. Now, looking at our nutritional differences, South Asians have some intolerance to certain foods such as lactose. Our diets are predominantly vegetarian or carbohydrate heavy. So a good dietary adjustment for a South Asian can be to keep a high protein diet, aiming for about 1.6 to 2.2 kilograms of ideal body weight. This is going to be very important to maintain muscle mass especially if you're in a deficit and we're trying to lean down so we can have an aesthetic physique. Now that we've talked a little bit about our genetic makeups, let's look at our exercise routines and recovery times. It is found that South Asian genotypes actually have slower recovery times compared to their counterparts. This is where a good exercise regimen may play a role. Focusing on large muscle groups with fewer weightlifting exercise sessions during the week can help with recovery time. Another option is choosing a split that allows for both pushing and pulling, a typical bodybuilding regimen that can help maintain adequate recovery time in between each workout. For example, on Monday is a push day where we're focusing more on chest and triceps and then not touching that body part until at least 72 hours so you have adequate rest in between each set so you can get the maximum out of the workout session. Now, it's important to know that there are cultural differences when it comes to building an aesthetic physique. The South Asian community doesn't typically focus on aesthetic bodybuilding. However, this is becoming more frequent and common practice in these nations. So as we see time progress and find some improvement in our dietary intake, I can see South Asians competing amongst the top of the top when it comes to bodybuilding, at least from a natural standpoint. So now we need to look at our cultural diversity and our genetic diversity. South Asians come from a lot of various backgrounds, a lot of dietary backgrounds. So the big picture here is for a South Asian, I don't want you to feel discouraged that you may not be as gifted as your counterparts. Just focusing on a protein-rich caloric intake, getting adequate sleep and training the right way, which for South Asians would be progressive overload, plenty of rest in between each exercise session, and then maintaining adequate hormone balance through lowering your stressors and eating foods that are going to emphasize your growth. This is how we could achieve a proper physique. I would encourage supplementing protein if you're a vegetarian, and this can also include supplementing creatine if you're vegetarian and not having the adequate animal product intake. So in conclusion, there is a lot of genetic differences for South Asians. One, emphasizing muscle fibers, genetic makeup, emphasizing hormonal disbalance, the way our storage of fat is compared to our counterparts, and our dietary intake with its inadequate protein content. If you know where your weaknesses can lie, then this is an easy fix and you can find yourself hitting your all-time best at the gym and building the physique of your dreams. My name is Abbas Rizvi. I'm actually a board-certified family physician. I treat a lot of patients with metabolic disorders. I treat a lot of our community members, and this is something I will always emphasize. The goal is never to focus on medications or enhancements to help improve your health, when at least understanding what your genetic makeup is can help you achieve the goals you aspire. I'm actually posting on my Instagram where you can follow along with me on my journey to natural bodybuilding. I post weekly updates where I discuss my calories, the amount of macronutrients I'm getting, the amount of steps I'm doing, my current weight, and I try to just motivate our community. If you enjoy this content, please share with a friend, like, subscribe. I really would like to show that we can achieve our best physiques just by making the adequate lifestyle changes and then staying educated on where our genetic imbalances can lie, where we can use this as a tool to make sure we hit our gains. I hope you enjoyed this video and we'll speak to you next time. Thank you so much. Have a great day.